Whenever I experience something that is incredibly polarized in my own life, I know that there's work to be done. When I look at the world today and I see so much polarization, so many ways that we are divided, it makes me feel like we have gone so far away from our center. And I was thinking about this along the lines of identity, gender identity or gender dysphoria. And I started to think about like how this relates to me and like how I can find similarity in it, because that's really how we come back to the center. You know, it's what divides us that creates the pendulum swing. But when we start to see how we are alike, then those massive differences start to fade away. And so one of my other coworkers who is non-binary, who has massive grace with me, because I always tell them that this is so difficult for me. It's so difficult for me to remember not to call them a him, and he has a lot of grace with me, and I never mean it disrespectfully. It's just, it's something that I don't currently like fully like, you know, I don't fully understand it. And so I started to look at how it shows up in my life, and I saw that I've struggled with my own identity disorder my entire life, and I feel like that's the human journey, right? I mean, we come through the veil of ego illusions and we forget who we are. We forget that we're a holy child of God, never separated from the mind of Christ, that we came to this planet for so much more than we can ever even fully grasp in this human linear perspective. And I've gotten lost in hiding behind my past lives and hiding behind ways of finding significance in things that were outside of me or that made me superior in some way. And it wasn't coming from a true knowing of myself. It was an overcompensation. And what it created was a fall from grace, a massive humbling, to where literally everything that I used as a barrier between me and this world, like my jewelry, my shoes, my clothes, everything started to break apart. This pilgrimage last year that I was leading, even down to my shoes breaking as I walked into the hotel the last day. And it felt like an attack. But in hindsight now, after I've had, you know, a year to process the whole situation, I see that God was removing all of the things that I had put on to like cloak my identity, to create an illusion of sorts. And it's like we come into this world with nothing, we're naked, and God will literally strip us down naked whenever we hold on to attachments or create barriers between us and who we truly are. And I just was thinking about it, like that could be looked at as me last year, me a couple of years ago, and struggling with this, not feeling like the self-confidence and self-worth of who I am and the voice and the message that I have to share and the guidance that I receive from God. Instead, hiding behind all of these labels, right? And it's like our true identity is Christ. The true identity of the child that we are. It's not masculine or feminine. It's not, you know, some archetype. It's It's just Christ. It's just the mind of God put into human form to experience the very edge of expansion. We're here to experience our sensations and to try to create through polarization, through contrast. Ultimately, I know that eventually we're going to get home. Eventually we're going to come back to center. It's interesting to step back and allow the tower to burn. It's just the same thing like when you are watching a relationship and it's like you can do whatever you want to try to hold on to something, but ultimately I think that the hardest thing that we can do is surrender it all to God. Give our relationships, give our choices, give our identity to God and say, God, do with it what you will. Whatever is in the highest and best and greatest of all good, and for your will, open up those doors. We'll walk through them. And I will do my best every day to try to surrender the fight of not wanting to, let go of knocking at those doors that are closed. And to really, really trust that God has your back. I mean, there's moments in my life where I'm like, yeah, piece of cake. There's so many things, especially lately, that I've surrendered and miracles have happened as I've been perseverant. But in other ways, it's like it's almost like trauma, right? It's like there's a mistrust that God has our best interest at heart. And also that we are co-creators. I think for a lot of my time as a parent, I was too laxed. I went the route of gentle parenting too much and didn't provide enough structure and guidance for my daughter to where she's struggling now. And I see that now in hindsight, now that the issues, the ripples of the things that I thought I was doing to, be the best mom possible have created these ripples that have had negative consequences, negative outcomes. It's like, oh, whoops, maybe I overcorrected a little too much there. Maybe I should have, stepped in a little bit more. Maybe I should have, implemented a form of religion and belief and, what are they called when you have rituals each year? What are they called? I can't even think of it because I've tried so much to just allow her to show me who she is and to follow her own path and for me to witness her. And sometimes we have to step in and be like that masculine containment, and we have to say no, and we have to provide guidance, and we have to tell them what it is so that then they can have that baseline, that foundation. And right now I feel like this sadness when I even tap into the collective in this way, because it is a reflection of the miscreation that I've created in my own life and that I've seen outpictured in the world. This desire for guidance. And I pray that, if this message is finding you and you're listening to this point, thank you. I pray to share my experiences, and hopefully they will help you on your journey. They will plant a seed that will germinate something beautiful to grow in your garden. to everyone that's struggling to find their identity, that may be contemplating, taking paths that can't be undone. I pray that, I wish I could talk to every single one of you before you take that next step, to see what's underneath it. Because ultimately there's this peace within all of us that's trying to find who we are. And when we surrender that, when we just allow what is to be, when we stop fighting and trying to make it something different, ultimately wrestling with God, right? Allow that to be like a final step after we've done all of the internal work first, so that we don't create these changes and then feel it's like when you are going to a new therapist and you think that they're going to fix all your problems, or you find a new spiritual practice and you think that that's going to make you happy, and then when you're so disappointed when it doesn't meet that expectation that you had because you are worshiping a false idol by putting your power into that thing before wrestling with God and assuming that God got it wrong when they created us. Because even though there's things that have happened to all of us that make us feel less than pure light, than less than the holy child of God that we are, we remember that we were created absolutely perfect and that God doesn't make mistakes.